Hi guys, today we are going to be working on a project called Pointillism. And Pointillism is basically using different dots overlapping and far apart to create a picture. And so instead of actually shading something darker on the side where it appears darker, you're going to just put a higher number of concentration of dots, so more dots closer together on the side where it's a shadow, because we're going to be pretending the light is coming from one direction and you still have that shadow on the other side. So you show that by putting more dots and darker colors too. And like down here, this is all brown, but there's more dots right here, so that kind of shows that there's shadow coming from this face sitting there. And then you can put darker and lighter dots within the different pieces of whatever it is you choose to draw. I'm going to do something simple today to start out, but for this project you can use just grab any paper you've got. I would prefer an outlined paper though. And then we're going to, you can use oil pastels, that's what I used here. You can use crayons, markers. If you want to, you can use colored pencils. There's an example of an R2D2 I did with colored pencils, but pencils have a much smaller point, obviously, so when you go to do the dots, they're going to be a lot smaller than something like this, oil pastel. So this is going to take longer, but you know, and it might make your hand hurt after a while. But this took me a while, but it was pretty rewarding afterwards too. So it kind of depends which way you want to go. You could also use paint if you've got it, watercolor or acrylic. You could use a Q-tip where you dip the Q-tip in the paint and then dot with that. And I've seen some really neat ones done that way. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it. But I'm probably going to start off with oil pastels just for the sake of this project. Now I want to show you some other examples. This is my pigeon. It was going to be a chicken, but then my students told me it looked kind of like a pigeon, so we called it pigeon. But when you want something to be lighter, make sure you put less dots, and it makes it look like it's a little bit lighter. This one's a dragon. I think I almost got too carried away with the dots, because at this point it's almost like just coloring the whole thing in, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is just something super simple, and what that is going to be is I'm just going to sketch out an egg. You know, Easter is coming. If you like to celebrate Easter, if not, spring is coming, at least we hope. And if you have chickens or ducks at home, they might be starting to lay their eggs. I know mine are starting to lay eggs even though it's freezing. The days are getting longer, and so they're starting to lay their eggs. So I am going to draw just a regular egg. But my chickens, I've got Americanas. I have lots of kinds, but the ones that are laying right now are my Americanas, and they lay bluish green eggs. So what I'm going to do is just do an outline with a pencil, and then I'm going to find some blue green colors. Actually, this one's perfect. It's kind of like this color. So what I'm going to do first is just go along the outline with some dots. Now I want to caution you, don't go like this, dot 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 dot, because it's just going to smash your utensil, whatever you're using, and make a mess, and probably drive those around you a little bit crazy. Especially if you have markers and you're going dot 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 really loud. Markers, the tips of the markers are going to get flattened. I know this from experience because I've done it. And we don't want your markers to get all flattened because of this project. So we start with just the basic outline of your object. You don't have to do an egg. You could do whatever you want. If you like, if you want to do a fish or a basketball or a frog or a dog or flowers, you can do whatever you want to do. But this is the basic. So I'm doing an egg. I drew the outline. I did the dots. Now I'm going to pretend there's a light source over here, and so my shadow is going to be on this side. So I'm going to start layering more dots on this side, next to each other, closely, and keep going up and just making those dots really thick right next to each other to show that this side needs to be darker. I've seen some really detailed versions of pointillism that people have done just with a pen, and they have turned out fabulous. But you can tell they took a really long time. Now, one of the most famous pointillistic artists that you'll probably see if you just search pointillism is Georges Seurat, and he was a French painter, and his most famous painting is A Sunday on the Grand Yacht, or something like that. It's a Sunday on the Grand Lawn, and it's all these people hanging out, it looks kind of like a park next to like a pond or something, and all these people are hanging out, and they're at first when you look at the picture it just looks like a regular painting, but when you look closer you realize all the colors that you see on this paper are the result of a combination of dots. And if you research the painting itself, it's like, I can't remember exactly, but it's something like 5 by 10 feet, like 5 foot tall by 10 feet wide, or 6 foot tall by 10 feet wide, something like that. But it is a huge, like wall-sized painting, and everything you see is really made up of dots. So it's kind of cool. So you can look up Georges, Georges, Seurat, Seurat, if you want to see more pointillism from a professional rather than Miss Jones here. So now I'm starting to make my dots a little bit farther apart. More sparse is the other word you could use, because I still want it to look like this egg has some color to it somehow. But just like we've done with some of our other art projects, wherever there is the brightest reflection point, you might not put any paint there and might keep it white, right? So we might just keep that white. But this looks like almost too thick of a line, so I'm going to add a little bit more lines, or a little bit more dots here to kind of make it more gradual, almost like the ombre we did when we were doing our beach the other day. Make it seem like the dots are gradually spreading out instead of just all of a sudden there's a line of dots and no line of dots, you know what I mean? So yeah, you're probably like, this is taking a long time. My hand is starting to hurt, and I get that. So take a break if you need to, and think about what other colors you might add to your project if you're not doing an egg and you might be considering a different project. Looks almost like it's about ready here. So then, at the you know, the darkest part of my egg, I may even look to see if I can find a different color. It's probably not the color I want. Let me test this color out. Well, it's like a neon green. I don't really want that. Oh yeah, this one's probably better. It's more like a turquoise. So I'm going to take a color that's just a smidge darker than the one I've been using and kind of overlap a little bit on the very bottom. It's funny, you can almost barely tell that that color is being added with the way that this document camera is picking up the color. But this is more like a teal turquoisey color, and the other one's more like a minty, what would you call that? What would you call that color? Like a minty gray or something? So now I'm just kind of spreading them out a little bit. So you can't really tell, but I've got two colors now. I've got these two colors, and I did a darker color kind of on the edge. So you can see my egg. Then underneath, maybe my egg is sitting on some hay or something like that, so maybe I'll go in with some yellow. And obviously I want to put a lot more dots right under my egg to show that there's a shadow there. Oops. Hopefully you can't hear that tapping of my pastel too bad. So now I'm doing kind of what I did with my vase in that other picture I showed you. I'm adding more dots right underneath the egg to make it look like it's darker. And I'll probably add a little bit of orange or like a little bit darker yellow there. And then just kind of set my other yellows apart so that it looks lighter in the other spots. Because if you've ever seen hay, it's pretty reflective actually. Let's see. I have this color, but I'm kind of curious if there's another color that's better. I don't know if it's the same color, so I guess I'm going to use this one. I'll hold my breath a little bit when I use this one. I don't want it to look too dark, and this is looking too dark. So I might go over these orange dots with the yellow and kind of blend it a little bit. So now I'm going back over my orange because it's too dark, I think, so I'm going to smear it together with some yellow and mix it a little bit. So maybe that'll lighten it up just a smidge so it doesn't look quite as extremely dark. And I know this is time consuming, so you can just, you know, be as extreme or less extreme as you want with the amount of dots you choose to use here. Alright, so this is kind of an example of egg pointillism. But remember, you can choose more detailed pictures if you want. Something more like R2-D2. You could do, here's an example my daughter did of a house with grass and things like that. You could do just block letters with like your name if you want to. Some people did flowers, vases, animals in my other classes, so you could choose what you want to do. I just chose to do this egg because I thought it would be simple. If you want to put designs on your egg, like for Easter or something like that, you could do that. Or you don't have to do an egg at all. You can do something completely different. But whatever you choose, I hope it turns out great. And when you're done, I hope that you will upload it to Artsonia so I can see how you did. Now this part's kind of reminding me of snow, even though it's yellow. Everybody's been getting snow this week. Looked like Des Moines was getting a lot. From my window I can look over the mesa and kind of see that direction. And it hit them, it looked like, before it came to us. And then it almost looked like it was blue sky down south. So I don't know how much snow they got. Yay! I guess I better finish this yellow all the way down. Huh? You almost want this to be like a direct reflection of the egg, and so, or whatever object it is. So I feel like I didn't do a good enough job with my shadow. So I am going to go back and add some more. And if you want to, you could do a background behind your egg as well, but I think my hand hurts too much for one sitting to be willing to do that. But it would be cool if you had the entire thing done. I encourage you to look up that George Seurat and see. Just think about how much time it must have taken to do what he did. And he did his with paint, but everything, every little dot. If you imagine making a mural on your entire wall in your house or wherever you're at, you know, that would take a long time, I would think. Those oranges sure stick out like a sore thumb, don't they? Alright, well there you have it. The blue Americana chicken egg. Or it could be a robin egg if you wish. Anyway, I hope you enjoy, and I hope you will upload to Artsonia when you're done so I can see your beautiful creations. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!